All right, I'm going to start the panel without the mic. Small audience, you all can hear me just fine, right? Okay. So hey, great intro, thank you. I'm Ryan Linder, Executive Vice President, Global Chief Marketing Officer at Stagwell. For those who don't know, Stagwell is home to 77 of some of the world's most creative, strategic, thoughtful, awesome, modern, founder-led agencies on the planet. Okay? Yeah, absolutely. And look, creative. Thank you, Sophie. Thank you, Sophie. We only work on half of your portfolio, if not more. Thank you. Some of those agencies that are in the family include Anomaly, 72 and Sunny, National Research Group, NRG, where Fotoulla joins us from, Code and Theory, Instrument, the list goes on. We have an amazing partnership with the good men of Concreate sitting in the front row. Vince and Joe, say hello. All right, pay me later for that. I've got one. I'll be wired up in a second. So look, here at Super Bowl, we're surrounded by fans, right? And when you think about a fan in this context, it evokes visions of people in face paint screaming for their team. The word fan also sparks images of people in ballparks eating hot dogs, popcorn, you name it. A person in a crowd at a concert singing every lyric to their favorite song. For me, that would be, cash rules everything around me. Cream, get the money.
Dollar bill, y'all.
Thank you. I know all of you knew those lyrics, at least half the room.
That's pretty embarrassing.
So nonetheless, it's a kid wearing a jersey with his favorite player on the back. It's things like nostalgia. Some of the shows that we watched growing up coming back for their second run. The definition of fan and fandom can take so many different forms. But outside the sports arenas, ballparks, concert halls, is a very, very different powerful type of fan, and that's the fan of brands. So we're here today to talk about fandom, specifically the anatomy of a fan and building brand passion. This is exactly why I jumped on the opportunity to be a part of this panel, because being a fan of the brands, the 70 plus brands that I represent every day, is crucial to get me out of bed and rightfully represent not only them, but our clients in which we partner with that trust us with their brands and fans as well. So, more and more brands are becoming celebrities in their own right with their own fan following. Take a sneaker drop. The line outside of Foot Locker is around the corner, and the same exists online as well for the likes of StockX and others. So Stagwell Research Powerhouse, led by Fotoulla. National Research Group, NRG. Most recent work found that, and I'm going to read some stats, 1 in 3 planned Super Bowl viewers are fans of the teams playing in the Super Bowl. Many brands advertising during the Super Bowl have more fans planning to watch the game. More fans, 89%, are excited for the commercials over the game itself and the halftime show. Super Bowl fans specifically are more likely to be sharers, advocates, trusted influencers, passionate connectors who value community, engaged, leading edge, and plugged in. The common denominator here is fandom, okay? Whether it be in music, entertainment, or with brands, that common denominator in fandom is culture. Culture brings these communities of people together. It's the engagement within a community built around shared appreciation, social connection, identity, and today, we're going to go unpack the anatomy of a fan, explore how brands can best position themselves to benefit from the value of the fan experience to build passion around their own brand, particularly in major sporting events like what we're all here to celebrate, Super Bowl. And by the way, Super Week is my favorite week of the entire year. Yes, more than the holidays. Don't tell my kids. We're also sharing a new fandom research that was just dropped today by National Research Group, which Fotoulla led. So, my note card said I'd like to welcome to the stage, but we already did that. So, so we're going to dive right into things. So let's kind of unpack this research, the anatomy of a fan. I'm going to start with a little lead-in. Other than being gathered here for the event of the Super Bowl, NRG published a second iteration of brand fandom, all right, dubbed the anatomy of a fan. Let's unpack this. It will hopefully help brands best position themselves to benefit from the value of the fan experience to build passion around their own brand. Fotoulla. As someone who is heavily involved in putting this research together, you led it. Can you share with us what makes a Super Bowl fan?
Yeah. So as you said, we did a lot of research about the anatomy of a fan. And we've also done a lot of research about fandom in general, brand fandom in general. In this past research, we looked at the anatomy of a Super Bowl fan, but we also looked at it more broadly too. We looked at NBA fans, WNBA fans, fans of the Olympics, Major League Baseball, you name it. We looked at all different kinds of fans. And what's really interesting and great is that that sports fandom, that characteristic of what makes a fan, is held across all types of fans. So whether we're looking at a Super Bowl fan or a fan of the Olympics, we're seeing a lot of the same amazing consumer characteristics that really matter. We're seeing that sports fans are more likely to be influencers. They are more likely to be talking to their friends about the brands that they love. They're more likely to recommend things to the friends that they love. They're advocates. They're the ones that are more likely to be sharing about brands that they love on social media and engaging more on social media with those fans. They're also more likely to be connectors, and that's at the heart of fandom, the idea of bringing people together, connecting with other people like you. They're more likely to enjoy talking to other people that share the same passion for a brand or a product, and they find and look for those connections and build on those connections. And they're also more likely just to be enthusiasts. They're more passionate about the brands that they care about. They enjoy engaging around those brands as well. And we see those characteristics more likely to really rise to the top with Super Bowl fans, NBA fans, Olympic fans. It's just part of what makes them who they are, and they're characteristics that are really important and valuable to any brand that wants to connect within that space.
That's great. Anything to add, Jen or Soph? All right, I'm going to go with the next question. Go, so let it rip.
No, I was going to say, I think I love the notion of fandom. And, we talk a lot in marketing about loyalty and about word of mouth marketing. And the best way to get that going is through fandom, right? But also, it gives you disproportionate hits. I mean, if I think about what we're going to do, and I can't talk too much about it because it releases on Sunday, obviously, but the Dave Grohl work with Crown Royal, we released the work on the Food Fighters channel, and we already have 8.3 million followers coming into the brand. That's using fandom and fan communities and association in culture to actually ride along and create real fandom.
But let's build on that for a second. So, look, one of our shops worked with Sophie to create this, what is going to be no doubt a groundbreakingly epic, amazing debut for Diageo and Crown Royal at the Super Bowl. Right?
Everybody get on the ad meter and vote.
Absolutely. We're going to follow up everybody with the link. Yeah. But you and the agency tapped into an amazing insight that is everything fandom represents when searching for the cornerstone of this spot, Dave Grohl. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Sort of. The 60 releases on Sunday. So, in essence, the insight behind what we're doing, what we have done with Crown Royal, with the NFL, I guess I take it back because it's not all about one television spot. And talk about the fact that, Crown has been playing with the NFL and local teams for years. One of our favorite things was tapping into the Atlanta game and doing basically a for good, purpose-driven activation, which was all about giving people seats at the game that couldn't access it, who were in the military and hospitality workers. So we've been involved in the NFL for years, and then I think 2007 we got the opportunity to actually become a Spirit sponsor, and we used that opportunity to actually tap into a really strong insight around the fact that you can only enjoy game day in its full form if you are engaging with alcohol in a responsible way, right? So we launched our water break campaign, which was all about encouraging people to not be the fan that ruined the game for everybody else and to hydrate and moderate on game day. So that was our first kind of foray into the platform. But I think more importantly, what that came with was huge experience around the stadiums, and throughout time, we circulated 30,000 bottles of water within stadiums. We actually helped bars, clubs, and pubs around the game. We did the salute to service where we worked with the military to give people opportunities to experience the full flair of game day. And then, more recently, that has grounded itself in this year's activation. I mean, through the pandemic, we worked with the NFL to help support local hospitality workers on the ground, supporting the stadiums, and the bars and hospitality workers around in local areas. And more recently, that's culminating, obviously, in the spot on Sunday. And I think people say, oh, why would you do a Super Bowl spot? Like, why do you want to be in the broadcast? And the response is, well, why wouldn't you? When you
Amen.
are a brand that experiences and activates around game day in the local markets and at a national level, then this is the culmination of audience and community and fandom. So it's sort of like, it's not about the spot, it's about the purpose and the amplification. And whether you like it or not, like the Super Bowl is still the number one audience. It brings together more communities, and it is a massive cultural celebration that you want to be a part of.
That's right, and you want to do it well, which it sounds like you're going to do.
I hope
All
so.
right. Most of us had to fly here. Jen, this one's for you. And hopefully you flew United. All right? You know, airlines, shameless. You know, airlines are an interesting place, right? Because you've got airlines such as United that has fans out there, die hard. And then you've got people who are exclusively in it for the loyalty points. So does that constitute for real fandom? Time will tell. But how are you harnessing the power and potential of fandom to keep consumers engaged?
Yeah, I think for me, the key kind of sentiment that we've talked about so far today is that passion, right? The passion in the fandom, and especially for us at United, that emotion is really important. We're on a mission right now to change the way people feel about United. So we really have to tap into that emotion, that passion. And, you know, for me, sponsorship marketing is a lot about association and amplification, right? At United, we partner with best-in-class organizations with which we have target alignment and values alignment. And then we look to tap into, you know, the shared passion, bring something to that space, and really benefit from and leverage that association with our potential customers and our current customers. And then we leverage that platform to amplify the brand messaging, the brand kind of proof points that we have, that we know from our research will resonate with those targets, and really look to, again, leverage that passion around a shared point, bring something authentic and additive to that experience, and really, you know, look to translate that passion for the sport, for the team among our shared audience, and translate that into some brand love for United.
Amazing. I'm going to take it as you're the quarterback. You just threw me the football. I'm going to run for a minute. All right. Good leads the way. New platform for the airline, led by you. Miss Maggie in the back, 72 and Sunny. Damien, where are you at? I know you're here somewhere. Authenticity you just mentioned. That platform is rife with authenticity. And United has every reason to back that up, and is telling those stories. How are you taking good leads the way, or how do you see the potential of taking this new platform that's been in market for the balance of a year and a half plus and tying that into amplifying fandom?
Yeah, one of the really exciting things for me on the sponsorship side about that platform is that we've seen a lot of passion and a lot of brand love come through community initiatives, social responsibility, things like that. So we pull that through on the sponsorship side, again, in an authentic way by partnering with our teams, our leagues, and supporting the needs that are specific to those local communities. With the Golden State Warriors, we have a program called the Franchise Fund that supports minority-owned small businesses in the Bay Area. Through our relationship with the PGA Tour, we're providing travel grants to HBCU golf programs that helps the teams travel to compete in golf tournaments that they haven't necessarily had the opportunity to do so before. So just a really, you know, what I love about that campaign is it tells the story of what United's been doing for the past 10 years, 15 years. It's not a promise moving forward. It's a reflection of kind of what we've been doing, and it's been exciting to pull that through in the sponsorship space, benefit the local communities, you know, where we have employees, where we live and where we work, and be able to truly partner with our sports and entertainment teams and platforms to make a difference and meet needs in the community.
That's great. Fotoulla, do you want something?
Yeah, I just want to add, I mean, in our general research around brand fandom and what really drives fandom for any kind of a brand, you know, just what you were saying about good leads the way, the value alignment is so critical in building those fan groups around a brand. I mean, essentially what people do is They seek out and connect with brands that feel like say something about who they are and what they stand for, and they want to use the brands that they love and that they talk about as a way to express who I am as a person, what matters to me as a person. And so when we see brands going out there with a values, kind of a mission and a statement or a positioning that really supports what the brand stands for, that's where a lot of fans come into the brand. That's where they say, oh, I believe in that too, and just by showing my support for that brand tells the world what matters to me as well. And so it's a really powerful proposition.
And I was going to say, I think that the opposite is true too, right? Fans are so good at recognizing inauthenticity. And
That's right.
It's really important to make sure that, especially on the sponsorship side, as we're looking at and evaluating potential partners, that there really is that true values alignment, that you're looking to make the same difference among the same people, and that you both bring something to the table that's authentic.
Yeah, I think I was going to add to that is that good does lead the way, right? It's a great campaign line, but we are seeing that purpose and doing something in communities and having a value exchange with communities is kind of like you have to do it now, otherwise you don't have the right to play in those communities. And it's interesting because when you look at finding how you activate it, and I think Matt was saying you have to have a right to be there activating that purpose in the community. I kind of think that you can't activate in communities anymore unless you have a for good part or a value equation with them. And we call that kind of, okay, we're saying this, but what are we actually doing? Walk the talk is critically important to building fandom.
Yeah, it's really important to our whole activation structure, activation strategy. Community engagement is absolutely a cornerstone of that approach, along with content, fan engagement, things like that.
Authenticity is key, hands down. And Sophie, I'm going to come back in a minute and ask you about another amazing partnership you guys started just over the balance of a year ago. So be ready for that. Look, we talk a lot about potential in fans, right? It's important for brands to remember their current fan base, as well as thinking about future fans and how they can be reaching them. As marketers and experts, how much do experiences like the Super Bowl and beyond play into how you connect with new audiences?
Yeah, so we asked this question in the research. Really, it was kind of just for fun, but I was kind of blown away by but what we heard. So we asked, have you become a fan of a brand because of a spot, an ad, a commercial that you saw in the Super Bowl? And 41% of the people, so it's 1,000 people across the U.S., they said yes. Yes, the Super Bowl actually made me a fan of a brand. And just so we could call bullshit on them a little bit, we said, well, tell me your story and tell me what it was and how that happened. And they recounted ads from 2 years ago, 4 years ago, 6 years ago, and really what it did for them. It was so innovative, it was so creative, it made me go check out the product. And they kind of told us a little journey. One in particular, it was someone talking about the Dr. Squatch soap commercial a couple years ago and how it really spoke to him. He really kind of identified with the message, and he went out and bought it and loved the product. And then he went around and showed the Super Bowl spot to all his friends and got them to buy the product too. And the illustration of that story just shows that yes, you can spark new trial and new interest and people looking for new information, but also sparks the conversation. And again, it comes back to bringing people together and, extends beyond the Super Bowl, even, in any live experience, any shared experience that brands bring together. It's about bringing fans together. It's about bringing people together that have that shared experience, that shared interest, giving them something to talk about. People in any kind of a event or sponsorship or something that the brands bring together, it's less about connecting. It's part of it, but it's less about connecting, having people connect with the brand, but it's about creating those connections between people and getting them to talk to each other and connect to each other through that experience of the brand. It's the connection with consumers amongst themselves and finding those alliances and that shared sense of belonging through the lens of the brand, not necessarily only with the brand. And that's what's so powerful about whether it's a shared experience watching the Super Bowl or a shared experience in an event or a live experience that brands are sponsoring.
Yeah, I want to I think I love that. And when you think about recruiting new audiences, I mean, it's a massive opportunity. If you just think about the activation, Crown Royal's activating around the Super Bowl this weekend, and yes, we're going to have a 60-second commercial. I will say that I think the Super Bowl is one of the only environments where we're allowed to say people actually look forward to commenting, enjoying, and judging the advertising more than any other environment, I think. So it's kind of the festival of advertising, isn't it? If you've got an opportunity or you're so lucky to get in it. And then it's slightly nerve-wracking, but it's not the be-all and end-all of the way we're activating. Like, you think about recruitment, and what I love about our plan is we talk a lot about filling the funnel, right? And that's about contextual experiences at every point of someone's experience over the next 4 or 5 days, and contextual content. So yes, we will have commercials in the Super Bowl, but we're also streaming different relevant at-home and in-bar content, on Hulu, HBO Max. We're working with, our platform is all around generosity and gratitude. So we have food trucks roaming around Phoenix feeding hospitality workers. We're turning up in the bars all around on game day, facilitating tipping. We're working with the Uber drivers to match the tipping that goes on when they're delivering at home. So, when you think about recruiting new audiences, again, it's like a simple old thing, which is it's not just about one channel, it's about filling all the channels. If you think about retail for us, we have at the heart of our brand the purple bag, which is one of the most beloved parts of our brand by fans. I mean, they make coats with it, they make capes with it, they make blankets with it, they carry their golf balls in it. It's insane. And so we use that bag, and we encourage people to bring the bag back to retail, to drop it in our letterboxes, and then what we do is we work with packages from home to pack those bags with, fun things and essentials for the military who are away protecting the country. So, you're recruiting new audiences by bringing the experience of the brand in an authentic way to the platform of the brand, right the way through all the potential areas that people will be out and about enjoying this massive cultural moment, which is game day.
I have personally helped pack those purple bags with toothbrushes, deodorant, toiletries for our military. So, Sister Sophie, there's those who talk about it, you live it. And that's pretty awesome. So taking that, one finding in the research that 87% say commercials in the Super Bowl set the tone for brand buzz for a long time after the big game. So Fotoulla, how can brands continue to leverage and build upon the buzz after the Super Bowl?
Yeah, the buzz is really interesting. What we saw in the research is that it really surrounds the Super Bowl in particular. We found that 75% said that they pay attention to what brands are playing ahead of the game. So they're out there, as we kind of drop the little pre-release nuggets and who's advertising and what they're planning, consumers are actually paying attention to that. And 68% said they follow what's trending about those brands ahead of the game. So the buzz starts early. We all know that the buzz continues throughout the game. People are watching the commercials, they're paying attention. They're, sharing about it on social media, they're talking about it amongst themselves. I think, where the real opportunity is after the game. There is this organic conversation that does continue. As I just mentioned, the Dr. Squatch example, consumers are having these conversations. They are then sparked into action based on what they're seeing. But I feel like the brands aren't supporting that buzz after the game as much as we support it before the game. So I think there's ways to kind of bring those communities together, give them a space to have those shared conversations, to continue the buzz that's clearly happening well ahead of the game, during the game, and then just not letting it fizzle after the game. There's really great opportunity because there's so much excitement around it.
Yeah, one of the big challenges we face on the sponsorship marketing side is putting so many eggs in the basket, resources into an event or a milestone that is sort of one moment in time, right? So I think it's really important that how you activate around these events, these properties, fits into your overarching marketing strategy as a whole, your narrative as a whole, and it becomes, an enhanced spotlight in that moment in time, but it can't be the be-all, end-all, and just let it fizzle after that. It has to, it can arc, but it has to be fit into your, annual or year-long marketing.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to say, like, the sweet spot is people expect to be entertained, get some information, or find something that they can use. You should be on your brand purpose, and if you're on your brand purpose and you do that and you give them something to talk about, then you'll be able to continue to ride it post the hype, so be it. So
You've gotten them authentically, and
Yeah.
so you made that connection.
And given the investment, right? To plan for something like this is crucial so you can maximize the money you're putting in for this literally one moment. So the $7 million question: should brands advertise during the Super Bowl and activate, and is it worth it? Not to mention $7 million for 30, but what if you have a 60?
Look, I don't want to talk about the investment, but I want to talk about the fact that, you know, if you believe in maximizing reach against audience, if you believe in impact within community, and you believe that that it's essential for your brands to ride along culture to be relevant, then if you have the opportunity to do it, why wouldn't you maximize all of the community, all the activation, all the experience, and all of the kind of power and energy of what is one of the biggest US audiences all year, I'd have to say.
And I agree with Sophie. I mean, if you can do it, that's great. It's an amazing opportunity. The eyeballs, the focus, it's just a very coveted audience in many ways, how they care about brands. But I also think that we can learn, especially through the lens of the research, we can learn about the ingredients that define the Super Bowl and that experience and apply that elsewhere. So, you know, we know that actually the number one driver of brand fandom is that a brand is innovative. And the Super Bowl becomes such a great platform because there's just an association. You know, if your brand's going to be on the Super Bowl, it's going to be, you know, something's going to be innovative about it. It's going to feel fresh and new. It's going to be creative. So taking those same principles that not only drive what's so great about the Super Bowl, but also drive fandom, I think can also be applied, you know, in other ways as we think about marketing.
I also think that, like, we spend such an enormous amount of time talking about precision marketing, effectiveness, and ROI. This is a day where we've got to entertain.
That's right.
People have to enjoy what we put out there and really have a laugh and get into it. So for a marketer, it should be a lot of fun to do this.
1,000%. Such is the fun we had on this panel today. Well, hey, thank you, everybody. You're going to close us out, otherwise I'll do it for us.
Hey, take it home, Ryan.
All right. I want to give big love and supreme respect to Sophie with Diageo, Jen from United, our very own Fotoulla from National Research Group. Thanks for coming. Mark Sternberg, Brand Innovators. See you next year.